Hi all! We are so excited to have you join us for our first ever blank canvas online. Whether you are a regular or you're joining us for the first time, welcome! This is a place to explore faith, life and creativity. You don't have to be arty to be part of this community. We aren't focused on the end products of our art, more about what the process of creating teaches us, shows us, and reminds us of. So join us for a short talk, an art reflection you can try at home, and then some reflection questions for you to go a little bit deeper. So, life is pretty crazy right now. I feel like I'm speaking a whole different language than I did just a few months ago. All of a sudden, I find myself saying words like COVID-19, flatten the curve, physical isolation, pandemic. It's crazy how quickly the world seems to have changed. The world is kind of scary and uncertain at the moment. Lots of people are having a really hard time. People are scared, stressed, anxious. When I go through hard times, I try to think about all those times I've got through something before to remind myself I can get through it. So, last time I got through a pandemic. Don't think I've ever lived through one of those before. Nor has anyone else for like 100 years. Okay. Another thing I try when I'm going through hard times is to do things I love and things that make me feel better. Go to the movies. See friends. Go away for a few days. I can't do any of those things either. So, how do we get through something we haven't been through before? How do we get through something when our normal ways of coping we can't do at the moment? Next weekend is Easter. At Easter, we look at the story of Jesus' death and Jesus' resurrection. He's coming back to life. But there's lots of stuff that happens before Jesus is killed. He's been traveling around for about 3 years, meeting people, healing them, and telling them all about God. But he hasn't been doing this alone. He's had friends, followers, disciples, whatever it is you want to call them. They gave up everything to follow Jesus. They gave up jobs. They left friends and family. They gave up stability. But they knew how important Jesus was and how important it was to be with him. So they've spent 3 years traveling with Jesus, the Son of God. And life is pretty great sometimes. And it's probably pretty hard sometimes too. But they always know they can count on Jesus to be there for them. I bet they thought that this traveling with Jesus thing was never going to end. But we know it does end. We know that on Good Friday, Jesus is killed. But we also know that's not the end of the story. We have 2,000 years of experience to know the story doesn't end when Jesus is killed on Good Friday. But his followers wouldn't have known that. All they probably knew is that their world had changed very quickly. Life probably felt pretty scary and uncertain. It was probably pretty hard. And they probably would have been really scared, stressed, and anxious. The person who would have helped them through this before wasn't there anymore. How could they deal with this? They'd never experienced anything like this before. We have the advantage of knowing the rest of the story, that Jesus comes back to life on Easter Sunday. We can see that while the world probably felt hopeless to them, there was hope. They just couldn't see it yet. Our world feels a little hopeless at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how long we're going to have to live this way. We don't know the end point. But this isn't the end. There is hope. Hope being the trust that this will end. Hope being the confidence that things will get better. Hope being the faith that we can get through this. Hope being the knowledge that we are not alone, even when we feel it. That you are thought of, cared about and loved by us here at Blank Canvas and by God. So, since there's hope, does that mean we shouldn't be scared, stressed, or anxious? No, of course not. That would be ridiculous. The way we are feeling is normal and okay. Yes, we need to have hope, but we also need to remember to be gentle with ourselves. We are doing the best we can. And remembering to have hope might help sometimes. But when it doesn't mean we can't do anything. To help us through, we can stay safe, stay calm, and stay connected. We can stay safe by staying informed with reliable information, washing our hands. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you. Looking after your mental health. We can stay calm by switching off social media if it all gets too much. Doing something you love, like being creative, watching a movie, playing a game, getting outside, maybe just in your backyard. Being mindful, like journaling or colouring in or yoga. Your brain is racing through so many different emotions. Sometimes being mindful gives it a chance to relax. Finding the good stories, seeing and hearing about the wonderful things that are happening as well. Talking about it. Find a trusted person to talk to. Myself and our whole Blank Canvas team is here if you need to talk. Staying connected by using social media, your phone, even a game console. Talk, message, FaceTime, play a game with people you can't see in person. And another one. Don't call it social distancing. It's physical distancing with social connections. We can still stay connected, we just have to do it in different ways. Our art reflection tonight is hopefully a way for you to remember to have hope and to remember to stay safe, calm, and connected. We're going to be making watercolour quotes. You've probably seen them all over Pinterest and Instagram, and we're going to have a try at making our own. Let's get started with our watercolour backgrounds. These are the things you're going to need to begin with, and you can obviously grab some other things afterwards. So it's pretty simple, but it does take a little bit of trial and error to see what works. So let's just jump in and get started. So I'm going to move some things out the way so I've got room. So I've got my plastic sleeve. Now I'm going to draw with my textures on this. Normal textures on plastic obviously don't stay, they end up rubbing off, but that's exactly where we want this to happen. Now it might be a bit tricky for you to see, so I'm just going to pop some white paper underneath. So you can see I'm doing lots of different sort of squiggles quite close together. Make sure you're getting lots of texture on there. You can even overlap them a little bit, that's okay. You're now going to use your spray bottle and you're going to spray over the top. You want a fair bit of water. You can see we've got like little bubbles of water that now have pen on them. That's exactly what we want. We don't want to be able to see any of the lines anymore. I'm just going to get rid of some of the excess water around the edge so we don't make too much of a mess of our paper. Now I'm going to take my white piece away. I don't need that anymore. Grab my piece of paper. Pop it down. Now I'm going to pick up my plastic sheet and turn it over. Place my whole hand on it and gently push down. Now I'm just going to use my finger to kind of blend the colours a little bit till I get to a point that I like. Don't do this for too long, otherwise all your colours are just going to all blend in together and you're not going to be able to see all the differences of them. So when you're happy, lift it up, take your plastic off, and there we go, we have a watercolour background. I'm just going to dab up my little edges with some tissue. And that's all there is to it. So you can try this with different colors, different textures, and different amounts. So it may look like I got this perfect the first time. That's not true. I had lots of trial and lots of error. So I'm going to show you just some of my others and what are some of the things that went wrong with them. So this was one of my firsts. You can still see all my texture lines. I didn't have enough water on that one. So if that happens to you, just pop a bit more water on next time. Notice this one, the paper looks really buckled. That happens to pretty much all the paper. But when it's really thin, that's going to happen a bit more. That's okay. Once it's dry, you can always just pop it under a heavy book for a couple of days to get it flatter. Once you've done your background, you can wait for them to dry, or if you'd like to speed up the process, you can use a hairdryer. Now that you have your background, you can be very creative in what you put on the top. You can use textures like I did in this one and just wrote a word. You might use pens, and in this one I drew a picture or a pattern in the center. Or if you've got them at home, you might choose to use some paints or some watercolors to draw or paint something on them. So these are my 3 examples of what you can do with your watercolor backgrounds. And if you're not sure what you want to do on them, you can always print off some options I've given you online. Just look in the comments of this video and you'll find some JPEGs that you can print off. Just to let you know, if you're using those, you'll need to print them first, wait for your ink to dry, and then you're actually going to watercolor over the top of them. So in the opposite order that we've done things today. So I hope you go out and have lots of tries, have some experiments with different colors, different papers, and different amounts of water. And I'd love you to post and tag Blank Canvas TCUC with all the art examples that you've tried. Tonight I'm going to leave you with some reflection questions. You might want to read through them, or journal them, or talk about them with someone. They're a way for you to think a little bit deeper about our theme tonight and think about how it might connect to your life. What are ways you're already staying safe, calm, and connected? What are some new ways you might like to try? What do you think were some of the emotions and thoughts Jesus' followers would have been having after he was killed on Good Friday? Hopelessness? Disbelief? Confusion? What would be some words of hope you would offer Jesus' followers on Good Friday? Take some time to write down, or think about the things that are making you scared, stressed, or anxious at the moment. Reflect on them. There is power in acknowledging your own thoughts and feelings. Now take some time to write down or think about some options of things you can do in the future when those feelings become overwhelming. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like our Facebook page or subscribe to our YouTube channel. There'll be lots of new and different things happening on our socials in the coming weeks and coming months, so keep your eyes out.